Welcome to the Data Bites podcast, everyone. I am pleased to introduce Shen. She is the Executive Director of Commercial Real World Bank Insights at Merck and has an extensive career in pharmaceuticals and has led many leadership positions in data and AI. And so, Catherine, it's a pleasure to have you on the Data Bites podcast. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Your career in biopharma and data engineering is quite remarkable. Can you share what initially drew you to the industry, especially coming from a background in some luxury retail?
Yeah, thank you for starting with that. So I joined Pharma really, I think is by accident because I'm in the MBA program, and then we are in Los Angeles. Amgen happened to be the only biopharma company that come on site to recruit, and then I was looking at the recruitment video, and then they were talking about to launch. Denosumab, a osteoporosis patient, a drug, medication. And my mom is a very severe osteoporosis patient. So as you mentioned, that I has been in luxury for 6 years before my MBA. But I'm really want to give it a try. I called my mom that day, I remember, and then say, "Oh, mom, I probably can stop addressing people to help a patient." So that's the start of my career in pharma. And then I joined Amgen as an intern and then returned, as a professional marketer. That's the beginning of 18 years in pharma now.
Amazing. And as the executive director of commercial real world insights, how crucial is data engineering in your day-to-day operations and your decision-making process? What role does it play within
Mm.
what you do?
Yeah. And then if you ask me this question about, let's say, only 3, 4 years ago, and I would say, oh, there are other more important things, and it could be visualization, could be data science modeling, right? It could be lots of things in the overall analytics space that play important role. But if you ask me now, I think things change quite a lot because pharmaceutical industry has been tradition use a lot of data, right? Data related with the medication, the use of those medication in the patient population across different countries, different therapeutic areas. So we are always data heavy. But the interesting, I think, momentum right now is that people now more and more realize that they not only need data analysis, they also need lots of automation of data preparation, data cleanliness, data feature generation, all those on the data side to enable the insights generation become scalable across markets and across therapeutic areas. And that's the only thing I think that's the beauty I see data engineering. Only data engineering can fulfill that kind of responsibility. So currently, when I joined Merck about 2 years ago, my team is probably working on two pilots, right? Two small pilots in US. Fast forwarding 20 months now, we have about 30 data product teams concurrently going on across markets and therapeutic areas. So I would say that's how important the data engineering now become for Merck Commercial. And then I actually see this trend across all pharma industry.
Can you share an example of an innovative data solution you've implemented?
Yeah.
And what was the impact on the business from this solution?
I probably use the one that's maybe I start with the first one I did in work. So when I started, we started in patient level analysis, right? So patient level data. For every company that play in the rare disease area, especially in US, patient level data is a unique advantage, right, that this market has. So all the pharma company really want to get a maximum value out of it. Hence, there are lots of analysis on patient level, related analysis. Um, and then it was true across the industry. If I say at that time, 2 years ago, before we deployed data solution, maybe 80% of the time, people play with the data analysts, they will spend is actually on the data itself. You need to find the data, clean the data. They need to apply lots of basic foundational rules like primary tumor logic, line of therapies for the patient, all the things. So 80% of the time they are preparing the data for the analysis, and then the true analysis only take 20% of time. And then you might say, hey, that's a obvious opportunity to start with. But to make things very complex, there is no one big patient data out there that we can clean, right? All the data coming from different vendors, different sources, different attributes. So all these things we need to basically do one by the sources, and that's why, right? It takes people that long. So long story short, in the first solution we did in Merck in commercial, is that to apply a common data model across all different data sources, you name it, and also apply all these common logic. Not only that, we also try to apply lots of we call data features. You can think about those are attributes and you need it for your modeling, right? So say let's one predictive modeling typically need like 250 attributes. And in order to make that model work, you probably need to generate 500 first, right? And then see which one's relevant. So we can really get all these things that we talk about, let alone, so all the way preparation until the generation of features really cut down the preparation time by 70 to 80% by the data solution we implement. And then the good news is that we implement in one tumor, and then we can rescale to other tumors, right? So it becomes a huge efficiency for the company to get lots of commonly asked question to be answered by the data solution rather than opening up a new study, get the data ready in 6 weeks and then go to the modeling.
How has AI impacted the work that you do, if any, or at all today?
Hmm. Very, very good question. And I would say definition of AI first, right? So if we say artificial intelligence is, we used to call it kind of machine learning. And then I would say it's everything across our life cycle. And I'm not saying in a satisfying way, saying, oh, we are really good. I'm saying in a really humble way. I think this is the start of everything. So what I mean across the life cycle, right? So when we are getting data, when we have master data, and then there's a lots of matching rules that could usually always be done manually by data stewards. Lots of them, maybe more than half of them could be automated by AI. So you teach the machine, learn the pattern, and then the machine can say, these are 5 potential addresses for this doctor. I think there are only 2 very possible options. So our manual work only need to validate those 2 rather than the 5, right? So lots of work got saved there. And then all the way to the generation of features, we can look at the user data, have a data-driven feature generation. So that's again, right, the machine can do the job, I think, so much faster than human being. We still need a human. We still need a human to say whether these features, really making sense, has a clinical meaning to it. But we can totally have machine do those work. And then all the way to, I think the most common hot words right now is the Gen AI, right? For rep, for everything, right? Like we can, let's say we have a machine that spit out doctor's counter affinity and channel affinity. So rather than searching for that doctor, use a Gen AI, then we can quickly get to the answer, know more about the HCP. So all those things are everything I'm talking about as in practice. But I truly believe with the rapid advancement of technology, this is the beginning of it. And then I'm always joking, right? I'm saying, hey, next year when I do the budget planning, right? So maybe we will need less people, and then more AI investment. And I believe it would be more and more true every year.
Yeah, I love how you started with defining AI, and I think that's so important, right? And it's real. It's we use just the acronym, AI for artificial intelligence so often, and yet there still isn't a really clear-cut definition for that. And I love that you went back and was like, well, do you mean machine learning? Because that's what we used to call it, right? But
Yes.
it continued to change, and also your foresight too, and just thinking like, we're investing more and more in it, and how does that continue to evolve? Do you see the organization, continuing to invest in AI, and what types of AI are you investing in? Is it like training people? Is it on the compute side, the tool side? If you were giving advice to other leaders in your position, like where would you tell them to look at and to put their investments within AI?
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome question. I don't think I have the answer. I can, share my personal point of view. So overall, AI is I view that as a enterprise strategy, right? So, data solution, we can have our, perspective on it and then see potential value to our work, right? Of course, the data science, of course, in commercial, but it's actually across all, right? BD, R&D. So I truly think the first thing I would encourage my counterparts across industry to say is that view that as an enterprise strategy, and then truly work with a maybe a special task force, right, with everybody representing different parts of the organization and work on it together. Because very quickly we found out, we started this journey in Merck, and then we are not. I don't think we're just starting. But we already found out there are so many individual investment in the different pockets of the organization, right, which I think that could be really done collectively so that we don't need to reinvest, or we can just share the synergy. So I would say that first is think about collective strategy first. Put an enterprise hat before our little department hat, and then I would say the second one is that um, maybe this is me, right? Because we are in commercial, and then we typically see the ROI from like kind of a market-driven perspective. I would say invested where that may be easy to start with. Um, Investor where that can really look at the value chain, right? Investor where that you can really see it make a meaningful intervention for you to engage HCP, right? So I think that would be where the money is. And then my third tip, I would not say tip, I would say, you know, uh, if you can help me, right, to deliver, this message across, to those who are interested to hear. I think from a data perspective, we're facing a similar challenge to enable AI. Because data is I view data as oxygen, right? Like, if you want AI as like a big machinery in the ocean, then data is the ocean. I think we need to solve the unstructured data first to really enable AI. Otherwise, AI can only be, limited to the scope of the structured data, which we have all the nice file layout, rich information, good content. But I think that eventually the beauty is in all these unstructured data out there, right? Let it be lab results, let it be uh, medical information inquiries made by HCPs and answers we provided, let it be market research primary, right? So anything, right? Competitive intelligence, I think anything, if we can truly solve the problem of how do we turn all this richness of unstructured data into something we can tap into, then our AI play in pharma industry will be really unlimited.
So I know that Merck has partnered with Math Company for a variety of initiatives.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit more about some of the innovative solutions you guys have come up with in this partnership, and how have these addressed specific business challenges?
Sure. Yeah. So I work with the medical company in a couple of different ways. I think, but overall, right? I'm only seeing the data solution view, right? But overall, I think I know medical was involved in lots of end-to-end kind of analytics landscape, and it was regarded a very important critical partner for us. From what I see is that medical is definitely helping in lots of patient level prediction, and then the generation of information alerts based on timely data and then with a predictive method inside. We are using this information to really supplement the knowledge we have on HCPs and then really to improve on the way we engage doctors and then the timing we engage the doctors and then what kind of content we can associate with those timely intervention. So from that perspective, I would call it like a dynamic deployment perspective. That's really like one of the most, I think, important aspect we were engaging with Mathco. And also on the other side, Mathco overall was also play a very important role in our overall performance reporting. And then being a big organization like Merck is overall, right, across markets, across the different countries and regions and therapeutic areas, there's a lot to it. There are basically endless views that you can think about to tell that story on our performance management. And I think with the partnership with the Medco, across data solution and the data visualization, that was really beautifully done. I've seen the performance dashboard by module, by change by persona. Across all these, I would say that it's really a very neat solution put together, combining different kind of data disciplinaries. So I think I would call out those two as the currently most major involvement we have with Mathco. But given the portfolio we're having and then also the 2025 demands coming in, I'm sure there are way more important projects that we can be working on together.
And how do you measure success with projects that are carried out in collaboration?
Mhm.
Do you make sure that you set these success metrics ahead of time? Can you give some pointers for leaders who are looking to outsource some of their work, but also find a partner to help deliver some of those strategic initiatives? How do you make sure you set that success up and
Yeah,
measure
yeah. Awesome questions. So I would see a few parameters that we are currently using, right? And then just food for thought. And then I would say it's not that different from other leaders will use with their organizations. So we typically look at two areas. One is the ultimate kind of more impact in business. And then the second one is more in the delivery, right? And then working with the partners like Mathco on the delivery side. So on the value side, I'm a simple person, so typically we're talking about super simple metrics. On the value side, I'm only looking at two things. One is the adoption of our data products, right? So we build the products, automate the whole solution, and I want to see how many times people use it in their dashboards, in their ad hoc modeling, or in whatever use cases. So that's one that's easy to track. And then for those truly pull through in their business, I would like to hear their business stories, right? And see, is there top line or bottom line that we are helping. Typically, it ends with either inefficiency or that any top line, decision making assistance. So those are two value metrics. Coming to the delivery part, working with our thought leaders, thought partners like Mathco, I would say that two metrics. One is super simple. I think it will be timeliness and the quality of the deliverable, right? Because we typically have quarterly roadmap, and then we want to making sure the roadmap got met. And I really want a specific call out, in this collaboration like we have with Mathco. I think our partner pay lots of attention into the timely and the quality delivery of the objectives. So we are not just, having a contract in the engagement and the 5 people on site, right? Like that kind of thing. We're really saying that we partner together and let's achieve the deliverable together. So that's one. And then the second one I will view is actually I will be partnership. Because in this area, I feel if a quarter I did not look around to see what kind of technology I could leverage, where I can be better, I might have a chance of being a little bit slow, and I don't want to be slow. I want to be ahead, right? That's all our intention. So I think a thought partnership conversation is really important, and then we really appreciate monthly can connecting regularly with our partners and to listen from them and see where we can do better. So I would say those are the I think simple but to me important criteria to look at the partnership.
When you reflect on your career, what were some pivotal moments that guided your decision to make either career changes, but most importantly, got you into the leadership role that you are in today?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You ask lots of great questions. I really want to tell you, like you ask really good questions. So I would say two things, if I may, share. One thing is believe in yourself, and then the second thing is that I would say no regret. So let me elaborate a little bit there. So believe in yourself. Why it's so important for a data person or in analytics space? I use a quick example in saying when I joined the industry, I came from a luxury where we have all the data to our customers, right? So there is no limitation. So of course, coming into pharma, people will tell me, "Hey, Catherine, this is very different. Hey, Catherine, there's lots of privacy in place, right? You cannot build that big data kind of environment that you used to enjoy in luxury." And then on the surface, it's all correct. However, there are lots of things that could be changed. So long story short, I would just say that maybe starting 2009, with Obama administration's meaningful use of data launch, and then we take that opportunity and then create lots of super creative marketing tactics using data. We all compliantly. I would say that if I stop in the beginning and don't believe in their vision, and then let at that time the current limitation block my mind and say, okay, then I just do all the marketer will do, right? I will just, use data as more retrospective rather than looking forward to the future. I don't think I will start any of those innovation like I did in Amgen or in BMS, which lead to my today's position or my current reputation of always having that innovative edge in the industry. So I would just say that no matter what, no matter how ridiculous, sometimes, especially when we are just starting, sometimes in the end, there's only one person that's supporting us throughout. And then I really hope at least we have ourselves supporting us, right? And then you can elaborate my context at that time is also this is my first corporate job in US, and then I have never speaking English, this is like a first job speaking English, and I was already in my late 20s, early 30s. So combined together, confidence is the key. If you can see it and then you don't forget about why drive you to think that way, you will find out a way. And then it really happened again. All my creative interventions that bring lots of money to the table started with simple stuff and people might even laugh at, but it come out in the end. And then the second one, I would say that is same thing, right? Don't let any of your perspective limit ourselves. Is that I feel, and then I'm only speaking for myself. I'm a female, grew up in Oriental countries, right? So being obedient, like help other people, like be the girl with the big heart, helping others is always my principle. So we always know that, oh, as a mom, I need to do this. As a wife, I need to do this. Like all these things. Uh, uh, the second one is came when I was in BMS, and then I got offered opportunity to travel to China and also stay in New Jersey. So basically, on the couple of week rotation for more than a year to help Opdivo launch in China. And then at that time, my younger boy was only 2 years old. So I need to basically, and then I cannot delay the launch, right? So that's for sure. So basically, need to say yes or no to the opportunity. And then I was thinking through, and thinking through lots of this aspect. But in the end, one of the sales VP at that time of Optivo, he told me, he said, hey, in the end, when we reflect, when we're getting old, when we reflect on how we spend our life, we will always regret for things we haven't done. We will not regret for things for things we have done. So even if it's a wrong decision, if you want to do it, do it. And then I'm just using that simple mentality because if I think more about this topic, I know I will give up this opportunity, right? I will say, hey, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to take care of my baby. So I go for the opportunity, and I really have one of the most enriching experience, for that 13 months. So I think just take away the limitations, whether from ourselves or from other people, and then sky's the limit.
You touch on two topics that we see come up so often within the women in data community, which is having the confidence and just going for it and really living with no regrets, but also, how you deal with all of the demands and what culture and society puts on you as a woman of like, okay, I'm supposed to be nice and take care of kids and family and all these
Yeah.
things, right? I'm curious, you mentioned confidence, you mentioned, living with no regrets. How do you put that into action though? It's so easy. You and I can talk about it here, but
Yeah.
how do you really get started? Because I'm sure, the confidence you have now is not the confidence you had in your 20s. How do
Right.
you build that confidence like a muscle?
Mm. That's a great question. Now I'm reflecting back. Uh, you are absolutely right. And then I also mentioned, right, especially when I started in Amgen, my first US job, right? So I added the international kind of cultural background there. Uh, uh, it's difficult to explain. I would say that, okay, I'll use one example. I hope that helps. And so go back to my first project. So we were launching Prolia osteoporosis patient, and so this was many many years ago. I think I can revisit that. And then we have a hard time of identifying the right patients, and so the doctors has a concern about writing a drug with a very limited label, right, to the patient because the drug is supposed to only give to the high risk patient, and then it's very hard to identify the high risk patient. So we are at that hurdle before the launch, and then so how should I start with this? I would say that we know what we want to get is identify the patient, and then where are the patients. So start beginning, like nobody has those information, but just don't give up and pick, get the information picture together. So we want to identify the patients and how to identify the patients. We have a label, right? FDA approved label. And then in the label, there is a certain description about the medical condition of the patient. And then who has those information? At that time, because it's osteoporosis drug, uh, DEXA scan of the older female patients can tell the story. But of course, I do not have access to people's DEXA scan result, right? Because it's a HIPAA compliant thing that is got protected. So who has the DEXA scan data? So at that time, through research, we found out is that GE Healthcare has. So GE Healthcare happened to manufacture the only DEXA machine in the nation. And so we said, okay, so they have all these data. But how to use those data to identify the right patient for the doctor, right? Then we say, okay, we can have an algorithm on top of the data. We have the algorithm, right? As Amgen Medical Strategy, we have the algorithm. So we say, okay, how about we put it on the USB? At that time, we still have USB, right? How about we put the algorithm in the USB? How about we give to GE Healthcare and ask them to stuck that USB in their machine? Okay, now great. Now algorithm can talk into the data and identify the right patient, right? So great, we talk to GE, and then GE is like, yeah, you can do that, but the doctor will not really pay attention to that, right? Because the doctor, if I was saying, hey, Dr. Lawrence, right, I identify some patient that could be used for this drug, you would say, hey, I'm a trained doctor, you're not, right? So we say, great, you're right. Although the algorithm talk to the data, we have the patient, but the doctor is not accepting it. So we need to also find the missing element. So as you can see, right, it's like a chess, like step by step, but you just problem solving along the way. At that time, we approached, I think, Kaiser network, and then ask them, saying, hey, if we can identify the right osteoporosis patient, and then if you can follow up treated with the right medication, how would that how do you think about that proposal? Right. So we need to consider from a Kaiser perspective, what's in for them, right? Of course, they want a better patient outcome, right? That's what is driving them. So use their angle. We try to pitch in the right collaboration method, and then eventually it works, right? So what I mentioned that three-party collaboration of Amgen, of the GE DEXA machine, and with Kaiser started the first program that's driven that's a marketing program, but it's driven by data underneath. How to start that confidence? It's a very difficult question. I don't think I clearly answer your question. I would say that if you're fortunate enough, like me, surround yourself in that environment that allow you to make that mistake or allow you to give a try. But I think across the pharma industry, right, where I have been, I think we can always find out business sponsors that willing to give it that try. I think get yourself that sponsor and then tell people, even if you fail, it's actually a something worth celebrating, not worth punishing, right? Because we are all a little bit scared. What if we fail? What if I use company's resource and did not come out anything? I keep telling my business sponsor, saying, if I truly go somewhere and then fail a predictive or fail a program like that, at least we tried. At least we know in the market that nobody else has pushed this far, right? We failed because we are at the edge. Of course, we have failed, and that means we are trying in a very good way. So luckily, that many people buy into this thinking and then saying, "Okay, great, right? Do it. If you fail, fail fast. We'll celebrate for you, or we'll encourage you rather than punish you." So I think just set yourself with all these people around you, right? Because especially in pharma, I think everywhere else, the same thing. We cannot be successful with ourselves. We always need to collaborate. So find out the right collaborator and then instill the right mindset for innovation. I think is critical. But in the end, if you ask me, what is the one thing that define the people really try till the end versus they don't? I would just say, I don't know, being tenacious, I guess, or just say that it's okay, even if we lose, right? And that's still a good experience. So I think maybe with that we can start, small.
Yes, it reminds me a lot with like programming as well. It can be kind of intimidating to get started, but you have to have that tenacious spirit that like once you hit one error code or one bug that you don't just give up. You like look at that as like, okay, this is a cool challenge, but like I just have to break it down into simple
Yeah,
steps and I can figure it out
yeah,
and to be able to push through. And then when you push through, like you said, and have that tenacity, your confidence does really end up building and
yeah,
growing. And it just starts with those little steps, as you mentioned.
yeah. I really like what you said because it reminded me of something I was saying to myself when I was young. So you say you hit a one line code and that doesn't work, right? Has error. I actually count my failures. Because I keep telling myself, Catherine, everything statistic in the end, there's an error rate, right? If the error rate is 70, I only need to fail 7 times, right? The eighth time, statistically, I have to be successful. So maybe that helps.
Yes, I love that. It's a great way to provide some data to it, right? It's taking like a data-driven approach to it. It's like sometimes like, well, I might as well get these failures over because eventually I'm going to hit success and that's going
Yeah,
to make a big
it's
difference.
great. You
So
have to be right, right? Like, in there. And when I was reading, I think Stephen King's, right? He has a book called On Writing. I think he said similar things. He said before he published so many books, he had like a nail on the wall that he always punched through all these rejection letters that editors sent to him. And then once he has a thick stack, he starts to publish, right? So see similar things, hit the error rate first.
I love it. Catherine, well, this has been a fantastic conversation today. I'd love to wrap up just thinking a little bit about the future and what excites you most about the future, and particularly from a technology standpoint.
What excites me about the future, for me, is a combination of a different technology discipline to enable productization of all the transformation we need to build in data. So I also, 10 years ago, I was dreaming about a big data environment for pharma that I used to enjoy in luxury, right? And then we get it. Now I would always dream about a situation that for all the analysts out there, because we're using similar data sets, right? You're doing quite a similar analysis. The last mile of analysis, it really differentiates company from company, and that's confidential to the company, right? They have proprietary rights. But the first few stacks of basics, or the first 80% when I'm talking about all these data preparation, if we can have an industry view on that, if some company can come up with a prioritization, that will be huge efficiency for company like Merck, for all the manufacturing out there. There'll be huge efficiency for researchers. In the end, that will translate to huge efficiency for medical discovery, right? Medicine commercialization and patient outcome. And I really dream about that day that can come. So in short, I would say the productization or automation of all these data work. And then that would be driven by a combination of technologies that we have, right? Kind of like a provisioning, right? Like Databricks, self-service analytics tools, various, and then also, like we all mentioned, AI will, help this speed up this process. So that's what I can be excited maybe in the next few more years.
It sounds like we have a lot to look forward to. And I just want to say a big thank you to you, Catherine, for taking the time to come and chat with us, to share more about your work, the lessons you've learned along the way. Your story is truly inspiring, and I know the future will be bright for you and for many others like yourself. So thank you for taking the time to come and chat with us.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. My pleasure. It's great talking to you.
And a big thank you to our listeners. Remember to stay curious and keep learning, and we'll catch you next time on the Data Bites podcast. Bye-bye, everybody. If you are enjoying the conversations you are hearing today, we encourage you to continue to be a part of the conversation and join a community of like-minded, extraordinary women. With our free community membership, you're stepping into a realm where learning, networking, and growth are at the heart and soul of what we do. Connect with Women in Data's global community and network with our chapters, all for free. But why stop there? Upgrade your membership with a special offer for Data Bites listeners by getting $20 off a pro membership, in which you'll receive access to over 300 classes, leadership training, and exclusive events. If you're interested in mentorship and networking, we've got you. From monthly thought leadership webinars to exclusive networking events and a diverse on-demand mentorship program, the connections you'll make here are boundless. Join us and be part of a vibrant network. Dive into our book clubs, growth groups, and industry-focused gatherings. Women in Data is not just a community. It's a movement, a place where innovators, changemakers, and leaders come together to shape the future. Visit womenindata.org to join or use the special discount code in the show notes. Together, let's drive change one data byte at a time.